Now we're on the road mic here on the Insta. I've just thought I'd come down here for like a last gasp chance for these bluebells. There still is the sort of blue haze here, but clearly they're past their best. It's really just the last few flowers on top, even though we've had a rather cold spell. In fact, today it's only 11 degrees and it's like a strong northerly wind. So the effect is definitely going over, but you look like through under the trees there is still a blue haze, so we may get something. I mean, I did do some bluebell shots just locally in my own bit of woodland, really, and this isn't mine, but it's at the very end of my field. So we're just going to sort of lower the camera down and see what we get. I mean, this is one case where you might be better off. There's a deer track there, look. You might be better off really if you could slow it down. But I'm really not seeing anything worth getting the big camera out. I brought it. The sort of accepted wisdom is that you don't really want wide angle, because half the battle is doing away with all the clutter like this sort of stuff, and you want to kind of pick out things a little bit further away where you're kind of emphasizing this feeling of haze. But this woodland, it used to be almost entirely elm trees, and they all died, nearly all anyway, and they were felled out and taken away for firewood. We had some of them, but so doesn't technically belong to me. It belongs to the estate. But so they took quite a lot of this timber out and replanted with these in the tubes, which are mostly cherry, not all, because they haven't done very well. They're alive, sort of. Don't look very well. Well, the elm has regenerated, but they keep dying back. There's this elm disease started in about 1975 around here, late 70s. So there are some, although it's the bluebells are over, there are some nice little sort of shady grove effects with the ferns and things. I mean, it's quite nice down there by the river. I don't know if it's really worth going down there or not. To be honest, my knees are only funny. We've been doing some work on the roof of the cattle shed buildings, and to be perfectly honest, I was kneeling on the roof for rather more than was a good idea, especially a couple of days. You have to be very careful with this camera that you don't scratch the lenses. So I might be able to set it down somewhere. Yeah, it's like you can come with like a little tripod type thing. Well, that'll be alright. So I'm just going to get the I'm going to catch my microphone, aren't I? Get my A7 IV out and see what we can do. I think it's been formatted. The next door here, he hasn't put any fertiliser on this year, and although I'm not going to say I don't approve, I think he's taking quite a chance. I should remember I've got my well, that was turned on then. Right, so we've got some photos on here. We'll just get rid of them. And take my sunglasses off, so I always tend to forget them. You're wondering what the hell's happened to your camera. So all I've really seen here that I'm liking is this this shot with the ferns in the foreground. I see I've left my camera turned on. It's still on 89%. I think I need to be quite low down for this one, which isn't going to suit my dodgy knees today. Apart from anything else, it hides that plastic tube that's laid on the bank along there. I think this works better in landscape format. Oh, I'm so close to you now. The problem with leaving the road on for too long is that the file sizes for it are astronomical. I really am having problems with my knees today. I must admit I'm quite surprised how bad they are again. Because they weren't, we were okay yesterday-ish. But down here, some quite nice little sort of micro scenes, as it were, where I definitely might. Oh dear me! I like the way the ferns are hanging over the water there. Looking at this area of bluebells, you can see half the problem is it's extremely dry. That's why they've gone over rather quick in the end. They weren't particularly late or early, but they seem to have sort of shriveled up a bit this last week, where you might have hoped that they kept going. There are some better than this though, where it's got more moisture and maybe been a bit later as well. I just wanted to try to get down to this lower section, which is actually in my field again, because there's some really big rocks in the river there, and there might just be something worth doing a more serious photo of. It's nice down there altogether. In fact, I'll go down there now. There's this section here. There used to be a dam here which powered Westerdale water mill, which is, I mean, the building is still there, but it doesn't have a mill in it anymore. But it did have, until some ducks there, it did have a mill in it until sort of late mid-60s, something like that. Then someone bought it and made the mill part into the house, which was previously quite small. There is some big rocks there, but they're not doing a great deal for me. I'm just going to talk to the camera with the lens cap on. But can we say there's a group of big square stones there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there's some more still lodged in that tree base, which must have been a tree before. But a little clue that this was like a dam pool up here. You can see the trees have still got sort of roots that would have been in the deep water, especially that alder. It's less obvious now than it was. You could see it further up as well, right up there. It's quite hard to imagine, isn't it? But anyway, what actually happened is what I was going to say, having started the camera again. In July, I think it was 1933, it was certainly in the early 30s, there was a 3-day downpour, which, God, I hope we don't have that again. But there was something like 12 inches of rain over 3 days. And that was just at the recording stations, the nearest one being Castleton. So up on the moors, it was likely up to twice that much. It's just an astonishing amount of rain, which I'm guessing, with a classic thing here where there was a low pressure in the low southern North Sea, just feeding stuff onto the coast, because that happens quite often, at least once a year as a rule. You get a lot of rain in a short period. It just goes on and on and on. But it got completely stuck that time. And it has happened before as well. There was another event in the 1890s or something rather similar. But anyway, there was tremendous damage down the Esk Valley. A lot of the bridges were washed out. And some of them are still missing, essentially, to this day. There were places like with temporary bridges made of metal. And some of those have been replaced. That's the railway bridges and the road bridges. The one at Egton is a prime example. It was only replaced sometime in the 1990s with another stone arch, which cost a fortune, but it's very nicely done. And there's one between Danby and Leelholm still replaced with metal, for example. Because it would have been, where I'm standing now, would have been under about 15 feet of water. So, I mean, there was a lot of farm crops were ruined because either they'd cut hay and it washed away, or it was still to cut. It was covered in debris from the river, like stones and sticks and mud. So it was basically unusable. And a lot of walls and fences would be washed away completely. So not a lot of fun. And that's why I say I really hope we don't have that again in my lifetime. And so what's some little that looks a little bit like an elm tree growing from a seed, interestingly enough. I had a spell when I would walk through these woods this time of year, and you'd find little seedlings of all sorts of trees, like beech and oak, and if you dig them up, put them in a pot, grow them on a couple of years, they actually do quite well. But if they're just left in this dry woodland, I knew that was coming, the dry woodland floor, left in the dry woodland floor, they would just never do any good. Like they'd get eaten off by rabbits or deer, or just overwhelmed with the general vegetation. Whew. No, I had a little slip there, but I was perfectly alright, thank goodness, and so was my camera.